to the Five Senses Experience podcast, the place where we focus on exploring what we see, hear, smell, touch, and what we taste. I'm your host, Kat, usually a passionate traveler, but obviously due to Corona, I'm currently staying home. And I'm trying to inspire, to educate, and especially to uplift you. After we discussed mental well-being in last week's episode, we now focus on how journaling and capturing your five senses experiences can improve your mental well-being. I recently came across the Instagram profile Writing Cloud, which is also going to be in the show notes, and I just had to reach out. The creator is our guest of today. Claudia Hernandez is a Peruvian living in Miami, Florida. She moved away from her home country to complete her studies at Florida International University with a full-ride honors scholarship. Apart from her studies, Claudia advocates for mental health and self-love throughout her social media platforms and her personal writing blog. As Claudia and I started recording this episode and started talking, it literally felt like opening up to a friend. She shared her journaling experience, and to be very frank, little did I even know how perfect her five senses journey would fit into this podcast. She is the living example of how your mindset affects you as a person. A heartbreak might be painful, but take it as a blessing to get to know yourself, your real self, as well as your interactions with the environment, and see it as a reminder to love yourself for who you are. I'm really excited that you get to hear how she learned to experience the five senses in her daily life. As we're currently in quarantine, obviously, and her and I are spread across the globe, we had to record this episode online. So I hope that the sound is okay. It might be a little windy here and there, but take it as a beautiful reminder and take it as the sounds of ongoing nature and ongoing life. Alright, that's enough talking from my side. I now invite you to enjoy listening to and learning from Claudia. Wow, Claudia, thank you so much for being here on the Five Senses Experience podcast. I'm so excited to have you as a guest today.
Hello, I'm so excited. This is my first time doing a podcast, so I'm a little bit nervous, but excited, most of all.
That's exciting.
I'm ready.
Awesome. How are you doing during this quarantine, this crazy time?
I'm trying to stay focused on school, which is, a lot during quarantine because there's little motivation. Mm-hmm. But I'm doing workouts, journaling a lot, and just staying busy so I don't get bored.
So are you in Peru right now, or are you in Miami?
No, I'm in Miami. I actually traveled to Peru 3 weeks ago for my spring break, and now I wish this will have happened when I was there so I could stay there with my family.
Right. So you got back and then the whole quarantine started.
Literally, yeah.
Oh, all right. Based on the intro that I gave, I hope that I sort of captured everything you do, everything you are. Please share with us anything else I might have forgotten before we kick off with this topic.
Not really. I think that's it. I mean, I'm part of, like you said, the student ambassadors at my university and the Public Relations Society of America. That's pretty much the two organizations I'm most involved in. Cool. I'm also the social media director for SGA. I study public relations, advertising, applied communications, and mental health is definitely something I'm truly passionate about, especially with everything happening this year, personally and in a global matter.
Yeah, should we dive directly into that one? Because ironically, actually, you and I, we didn't even know each other in person, right? So maybe for everyone else. So both of us are sort of we're Vine members of Youth Consulting, which is a Gen Z consultancy agency from New York. And they're incredible. And what they do is for really cool brands, for Gen Z, becoming a bit more modern, getting feedback, and they literally send out surveys and stuff. And we are the feedback givers in the end. And then there's always a Vine member of the month. And this month it was you. And then, I stalked you on Instagram and stuff. And I was like, oh, wait, she's she does exactly what, the whole mental health thing. So you do have a page called Writing Cloud, right?
Yes.
Before
so that's sort of to be a website, but now because the website wasn't getting as much reach that I would like to, I decided to change it to Instagram, and now it's definitely easier for people to actually read it.
Right. So it's like a writing block as you started about mental health, right? So like mental health issues, topics or thoughts that might just trigger you, or what is that one about?
Yes. I mean, at first it started with my journaling, my personal journaling that I didn't want to share. I will literally only read it to my grandma, that is my favorite person in the world and the person I trust the most. And she will tell me like, Clau, you should share it with people. It actually like touches the heart and you're a really good writer and all this stuff. And I'm like, you're just saying this because you love me. There's no way I'm sharing my stuff.
Right.
And I just started it and I did it for her. And I didn't realize how much it was going to impact me and my mental health. And then I started receiving comments about other people telling me that they don't feel alone anymore and how much the writings were helping them. Because I would write about life, heartbreak, even death, when you lose someone, like grief, love, staying positive. All these, it depends on my mood and also on what I think people need in the moment. I get inspired by my own stories, but also about like my friends' stories or just stories I hear that impact me in a way that I feel like I need to write about it.
Actually, what I really loved about your page, and that's also why I reached out, because you do it in Spanish as well as in English. And you have a pretty good mix of quotes or like, text, pretty small in the end. It's just like a picture with it, but a mix with pictures of situations. So you can really feel related to that one and you sort of know what's happening and you can imagine being in that moment, right? And what I love is not just the different topics, but the way you journal, because so many people think still that, it's a stereotype. If you journal just to, write down your thoughts or capture your thoughts and experiences, it's just like, dear diary, today, la, 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 la. But like so many different types of journaling, right? So how do you capture memories and how do you journal?
I used to have a notebook, like a normal journal. And when I was little, I used to do that Dear Diary stuff.
Right, yeah.
But little by little, I started to move it to my phone. I literally have like 400 notes in my phone with stuff I have written that I'm going to share in the future, stuff that I don't think I'm ever going to share because they're way too personal.
Right.
But it's the easier form for me. I could be just sitting down in the park or in my sofa or before bed, or just like as soon as I wake up and I get inspiration, I grab my phone, go to notes and write about it. And it's kind of amazing because it tells you the date and the time you wrote it. So for example, I sometimes go and through my notes and read what I wrote and I relate to something that I wrote like 2 years ago.
Right.
And myself, I'm like, how did I know this 2 years ago if I didn't experience it?
Yeah.
And then I just post about it because maybe I didn't write it in the moment, but I feel it in the moment that it's like the right occasion or the right moment to just put it out there.
So as I understand, you like capture your own experiences, your own feelings, what you go through for yourself. But then to make it public is sort of like when you have the feeling it's the right time, or when you feel this can also inspire others for their mental well-being and, help them sort of get through specific times or whatsoever, like heartbreaks.
Yeah, definitely. Before I didn't used to care. I will select any writing and I just put it out there. But then I realized I would go way too deep on like sadness and like anxiety and all this stuff, and then leave like all the positivity behind, like love or happy moments. So when I realized I needed to do a mixture, because if not, it becomes too depressive or like way too happy, which people don't feel related to.
Right.
And I started to put more attention to the organization. I was like, okay, I'm gonna just do it how I feel in the moment. So I started doing that.
So if you journal for yourself, and if you said it's on your phone, is it that you write what you experience, how you experience it? Is it that you capture your feelings, put it in words, some drawings? How do you do that one?
So when it's about me personally, I do it as a form of therapy.
Okay.
There's nothing else in the world or someone else in the world that can calm me down as writing my feelings. I can sometimes want to cry about an experience or react to another person about a certain way. And instead of doing that, I go to my phone and I just write. maybe what I wanted to tell that person,
right,
or what I feel in the moment, or why I want to cry.
right.
And I just write it down, and then I just, like, that's the thing with me. I write it and then I don't reread it because I can't.
So it's really just bringing out your thoughts and emotions into the pen, or like into your finger, sort of, right?
Pretty much. And then like an hour passes or a day even passes, and I go back to it. And then that's when I read it and I'm like, this is actually something I want to share, or I can change like little parts because to like don't make it too personal, because some people, like my friends or just people I know, follow it, and obviously I don't want them to feel like it's for them, or
for sure. So
I just change a little stuff and then I just publish it. But I also put a lot of other people's experiences in my blog. Like I have a lot of friends, a lot of people I know that have struggled a lot with some experiences that most people don't struggle with. Mm-hmm. And they just tell me, like, I'm a really open person in the sense that I listen to a lot of people's stories, because I feel like every person has a story that they are scared to talk about. But me, myself, I don't open up as much. So when they tell me their story, I try to relate my story with their story and my mentality to like what they're saying. So maybe like I've written about breakup for like since the blog started, and I never ever have fallen in love. And all of the things I used to write about breakup was only because of what I heard, like about love and how much it hurts. And now that I experienced, unfortunately, my first breakup this year. Yeah, it's fine. I reread what I wrote like 2 years ago, and I'm like, I get impressed because I'm like, how did I capture that without knowing the feeling? But now I write about it, and now I'm like, I can actually authentically write about it and my own experience, and maybe this is gonna help more people.
It's incredible how you can just, listen to your friends or other people, and then how this actually affects you and how you can sort of relate to it, understand, and, just listen, but still putting it into words and transferring this one into a bit of a, storytelling in that one. How do you prioritize mental health for yourself? And like, how does journaling influence your mental health? Because if you write down your emotions, I guess it can be mainly the negative ones, like, being disappointed, being angry, whatever, bringing it out, bit of tears, bit of, hand typing, sort of bringing the emotions out. How does this influence your mental health?
Well, my mental health is something that I've been struggling for like the past 4 years, 5 years, when they diagnosed me with fibromyalgia. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly in English, but it's pretty much a like chemical imbalance in your brain that makes you have anxiety, but at the same time depression. So it's a war between your brain trying to risk it, but at the same time be too depressed to do whatever you need to do. But I'm like okay with it because like I take medicine and I've done therapy, so I'm like okay with it. But journaling is something that I feel like helped me the most. I would just write, like you said, everything, not only when I'm sad, but also when I'm happy or when I feel super good one day or just one moment. I will write whatever I feel. And I think this podcast pretty much covers everything I write too, because I write about a smell that made me happy, or something I like touched, or something that made me super relaxed when I listen to like a favorite song or relaxing music or doing yoga, and all those stuff that maybe I don't share as much, but I definitely write about it.
I love this. I literally had no idea. Like, this is literally nothing planned. I had no idea that you also focus on your 5 senses and your, 5 senses experience.
No, so definitely. That's something I learned in therapy, actually.
Oh, really?
Because before I used to like not care about like my surroundings and only focus on my inner self. And I will be that friend that will tell someone like, just move on. Like, that's it. It happened. Just move on. Don't look at the past. And now that this year, I think it's been the most challenging year for my mental health. When it was my turn to tell myself, move on, that's it, I couldn't. and
Right.
I needed to go ask for help. And
Right.
that's when my therapy told me that's when you not only need to focus on your inner self, but you also need to focus on what is surrounding you. So
Yeah.
focus on, when you're sad, focus on anything that makes you happy, anything that you listen, anything that you smell, anything that you eat,
Yeah.
stuff like that before I used to just take for granted. And now I definitely pay a lot of attention to it. I think my mental health has been challenged this year, as I said, but at the same time, it's made me super strong. And now I'm still healing, but it's better. It gets better.
I love it. This is great. Like I'm totally literally like inspired on how this helps you and how this accompanies you with therapy and like, you know, your self-improvement and your mental strength. And I love how you said that, you know, you interact with your environment and there's different ways of how you interact. And it's true. Like the main motivation why this whole project started is because I was on the same page, right? Like I was like, oh, you know, we're just kind of rushing. We focus on the what, but not on the how. And I experienced that when I got back from traveling, the people always said, oh, how was it? What did you do? What did you see? And I'm like, wait, there's different things that I remember or different things that made it specific and unique. And that was like how I interacted with my five senses. And it's true that this is exactly what, if you focus on it, how you can improve your own mental well-being in daily life, right? Without any big things, because we do have five senses.
Exactly. And I think that paying attention to them is what truly, like, how do I say this it makes you find yourself, but at the same time, find your inner peace.
Right.
I used to be someone that will be like advocating about mental health and all this positive stuff, but never truly focused on mine. Right. Now that I'm starting to do meditation and all this stuff to heal from like all the struggle I've been going through, that's when I notice the actual importance of not only saying it, like you said, and telling about your experience, but actually you focusing on what you are experiencing without having to say it.
Exactly.
And
so is it a bit of a learning? Because for me, honestly, like the five senses, we do have them, but you know, ignoring them in the daily life, you can get, you know, they pass by so quickly. What is that of a bit of a journaling or like also journey for you? Can you share more about that one?
Like the steps to start journaling?
Or more about how you became aware of your five senses actually? Because I guess it was nothing that you started from today to tomorrow, but it was more something that you got into, right? Like along the way.
So for me, it took a lot of like forcing myself to do it. Mm-hmm. Because my therapy will tell me all these exercise, all these videos about meditation. And because I was so broken like a month ago emotionally, I didn't want to hear it. I was like, no, let me just cry and stay in bed and don't do anything about this. Like my life is practically done. Like that's it.
Right.
And then I talked with one of my best friends from Peru called Pedro. And he told me either you do this on your own or no matter how many people tell you to do it, you're just not going to do it if you don't want it.
Exactly. You are the one having to do it.
Exactly. And that's when I was like, I don't lose anything in trying. And I actually want to feel better because I had enough of all the crying and all the heartbreak and feeling bad for myself and blaming myself. And I realized that if I didn't make the effort, I was just going to get stuck forever.
Right.
And I just started first doing meditation. In my bed before sleeping, I will listen to these videos on YouTube that literally tells you put your body in a comfortable position and feel how your breath, you're breathing in and you're breathing out. And that's when I started to I was in my mind, I was like, wait, what am I touching right now? It's like, you're just touching your bed. Then I started saying, what are you smelling right now? Like absolutely nothing, like your room smell. And then that's when I started to notice that there's a lot of things that I wasn't paying attention to. And then I woke up the next day and while I was doing breakfast, which was like, I think French toast, I was like, I actually enjoyed the smell of breakfast more than smell of, I don't know, lunch maybe. And I started comparing everything, literally everything that was surrounding me. And now it becomes easier, I think. Sometimes we forget about it because I will do it the first day and then the second day I will just cry again and care about doing better. But now like every single time I want to go to a negative thought, or I start missing someone, or I start feeling bad for myself, I think to myself, what can I do in this moment that won't make me go through that? And especially in quarantine, that I know that nothing can happen right now. Like, no matter how much I wanted, like, nothing can happen. Right. So what I do is just meditate again, go make my favorite, I don't know, dessert, go for a walk, do workouts when I actually now feel my body. Like, I'm like, am I really training this part of my body, or is it just my, like, mentally telling me that I want to give up because I'm too tired? Right. So little by little, all these like 5 senses journey has helped me like a lot.
I love how you said that, like, you know, becoming or matchmaking this, I have to, I need to, as well as I want to, right? Because like this process is so hard. You need to want it to actually make the effort, right? And I love how you said that by forcing yourself and by starting little by little, even in your daily lives, you know, becoming aware of the most basic situations of what your room smells like, you know, what the French toast tastes like. But this is in the end what counts, right? And like, so it becomes really intuitionally, it becomes situational, and then really natural thing. And it's crazy how it gets into your mindset. Of course, you do still forget it here and there, but I love how you said that it becomes part of your practice and becomes part of your life, sort of. And, you know,
you learn how to live in the present.
Absolutely.
I moved like 1 month ago, and like all these challenging emotional stuff happened. I had a total different routine of what I have now. Because obviously I was in a relationship where I no longer depended on myself, but I depended on the other person.
Right.
And I made my entire life based on this person, like school, even work, like everything. Now that obviously that relationship is over and I have time for myself, is when I noticed that this little stuff, it's what makes me focus on myself. No longer on someone else, no longer on what will make me a better girlfriend, but more about myself. And it's such a fulfilling feeling that I'm still learning about. I'm hoping to actually get to a point where I don't have to forget it. I don't have to think about it even. It will just happen. But it definitely is my first recommendation for everyone that is trying to find that inner peace within themselves without depending on anyone else for their happiness.
Yeah, because in the end, the most important person you need to love is yourself. You cannot love anyone else if you can't love yourself.
Exactly. And that's a difficult truth. That's a hard pill to swallow.
It's especially a hard one.
Quarantine. At the start of this quarantine, I didn't know what to do with my life. I was without my family, without my friends. And all I wanted to do after a heartbreak, obviously, was to get distracted, right?
Of course. It's like the worst time to have this then.
Exactly. And I was saying to myself, like, why does this happen to me? Why is the timing so wrong? Like, the heartbreak was already a lot. Why do I have to experience this plus being alone? Like, that's just not what I deserve. And I started like praying and all this stuff. And then I just 2 weeks ago, I realized, and I was like, it's actually the perfect timing. And this is when the positive side of me came for like my writing blog, where I was like, instead of seeing the quarantine as something that literally forced you to be alone and miserable and like self-destructing, you can focus on it as saying, like, I'm a Catholic, so I believe in God. Mm-hmm. And saying, God put you through all of that before quarantine because he knew that now during quarantine, there's no distractions. There's no, I don't know, other boys, other friends, anything that can distract you from actually healing, actually finding yourself. Now it's literally you on your own. So like I said before, either I decide to move on and heal myself and get to know myself and love myself and forgive myself, or the other option. And obviously I don't want the other option to happen. So that's what's getting me through every single day.
I love this. And I mean, honestly, this quarantine thing is mentally for so many such a hard thing to face. Also because we're just not used to it, to open up to ourselves, to get to know ourselves in this kind of way. And seeing this time as a gift, I think, changes everything. It's nothing you can just force yourself to understand or to believe in, but still just, it's a different perspective and a different way how you wake up in the morning.
Yeah, definitely.
And you have one post on your Instagram, and it says, "I hope you're achieving everything you once told me about. I be cheering you on from my dreams." And honestly, I loved it. I literally screenshotted that one and like sent it to my friend. I was like, this is so nice.
Oh my God, thank you.
I do really like it. So that's one of the ones
ever. Every time someone tells me something about my writing, it's better than they tell me, I don't know, like you're beautiful or I love your smile. I don't care about that. If they tell me they love my writing, I'm like, thank you.
Yeah, because that comes from within. Like, this is your emotions. This is you, right? There's no makeup. There's nothing. This is your soul, your heart.
Yeah, and that's something I struggled as well with because, for example, that was directed to a special someone that is no longer in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And when I posted it, two of my friends also like shared it with me and told me, this is amazing. I wish I could send this to that special someone that I no longer have in my life. And that's how I decide to share it. Because sometimes I'm like, oh no, if that special someone reads it, they're definitely going to know it's for them.
Right.
But then I just know, like, as you said, I noticed that my writing blog is something about me. Like, that's why I made it separate from a main account, because I was like, this is me. Either someone that feels related to it likes it or not. This is my honest truth. And if someone wants to tell me, because I've been called dramatic, I've been called that I want to spice things up, that I just want to like make hints or like send hints to people to make them feel bad or whatever. And I'm here like, not really, it's just my emotions and my way of dealing with stuff. And because obviously I had like, I don't know, friend fights or like relationship problems, and some people will take it personal and be like, but why would you put this about this person? And I'm like, it's not about that person, it's about me and what I'm feeling.
Your perception, your feelings, right?
Exactly. So all this stuff that I'm posting right now, which is like mostly heartbreak because it's what I'm going through, I was scared because I knew people would know like who am I talking about or why I feel this way, or even like my ex-boyfriend will be like, oh, she's not over it, or she just wants my attention. And I struggled a lot to share this stuff. But when I got to a point mentally when I knew it was about me and about other people, like sharing it to other people so they can feel related and not feel alone, that's when I was like, I'm just going to publish it. If someone wants to take it the wrong way or the right way, it's their choice, but I don't owe explanations to anyone. Absolutely. So that's when I decided just to share whatever like I wanted, and if they want to read it, let them read it.
And whatever they think, whatever they feel, it's up to them, right?
Exactly.
I love this. I love how you have the good balance between, you know, what you do for yourself, for your own mental health, but also what you want to bring out, not just what message, but also what you feel comfortable opening up about from yourself, and, you know, also to inspire others by a painful truth. But still, you know, this is what we need. Authentic story, someone being really pure in that one. And it's not a natural thing opening up about a heartbreak, you know.
Exactly.
It's truly personal.
Really, it's true. It's the most personal subject I've touched. And just recently, like 2 days ago, I published something about what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. And it pretty much said, sometimes people don't go directly to ask you what's the problem, or they just want their own truth and they don't let you explain yourself. They just go for it and judge you and think the worst about you for things they find out when there's no proof about it. But instead of facing you and confronting you and telling you, is this true, is this not, I want clarity, they just decide to think whatever they want.
And they will judge you anyway.
Exactly. So pretty much this writing is saying, like, if someone wants the truth, they're going to go find it, or at least try to find it. If they don't want it and they want to think the worst and they think that that's what it's healing their hurting soul, then let them. Like, don't sweat it, don't stress it, don't, like you said, they're going to judge anyway. So let them remain DC with their own truth and hope that they don't get mixed up with all the lies and end up worse than if they would just face you. And when I wrote that, some of my friends told me like, oh, you're definitely talking about this person and this person and this person. And I'm like, no, like, again, I'm just writing for people. Like, if you feel related to that and you're trying to make a connection, that's perfect. But don't judge me, which I'm literally telling in the writing, about a truth that you know nothing about.
Exactly.
So definitely a struggle sometimes, because it's my personal life with other people's life. But when people read it, they obviously think that it's only me. Like every single word is about me and another person. And it's a struggle, because sometimes I just get like stressed about it, and I don't want to write anymore or publish anymore, because I get to a point where I'm like, no matter what I write, people are just going to think that I'm, trying to, I don't know, find something out of it. But then I remember what I'm doing it. And like you said, is to advocate for mental health, advocate for people that do not feel as understood as they would like. And those messages that I get randomly from people just telling me like, oh, can you give me advice from this? Or can you, like, you wrote this and can you please tell me more about it? Was this your experience? And just helping a simple stranger in a 10-minute Instagram message interaction is what like allows me to be like, you know what, I'm doing something, even if it helps one person out of the like 2,000 followers I have, that's fine for me. And that's what keeps me going.
You don't even need to know this person, yourself, or like being really close. It's just having the feeling of like, I bring it out, I contribute to this one, and I can help someone else improve their mental health.
Exactly.
So
it's all about other people.
So if we stick to that one and like improving mental health and helping people, do you have any advices if the audience or the listeners aren't really familiar to journaling yet, and especially about the 5 senses journaling, how you mentioned it beforehand? What would be your advice? How to start? How to get into it?
For someone that doesn't love writing as much and feels that they're not good at it and they focus too much on like grammar or the structure of the sentences, I will tell them to stop thinking about those stuff and stop thinking that someone is going to read it or that someone is going to criticize the way you're writing. Because I feel like writing is such a beautiful method to like find yourself, because there's no judgment in writing, especially when you're writing for yourself. So to first stop just thinking about every single dot or comma or capital letter involved, and just start writing.
And just let your heart, your soul, and your experience sort of find the words.
Pretty much. And I think that one more advice that it's truly important is that I would advise them to not do it in a paper that has like lines, just do it in a blank paper. Because for me, I used to focus too much in making it look pretty or in making it look organized. But when I had a blank paper, I just went for it. Like no matter if it was going up and down, but that's when my actual emotions came out, because I was not worrying about anything, not following lines, not anything. I just like put it all like a canvas, like a painting on a canvas, on an empty canvas. And
I can totally relate to that one, because I remember like I used to journal a lot when I was traveling, and whenever there was like something amazing, or even when I was like super excited, whatever, I had like huge capital letters, some paint, like some drawings, some sketches or whatsoever. And then other days when there was like so much going on in my mind, it was more chaotic, but like tiny little letters, and like you can tell in the way it was written, from the handwriting, from the size, and drawings, no drawings, how I felt.
And that definitely helps you too, because once you go back to it, you realize, or you pay attention to the 5 senses you were experiencing in that moment. Like you said, sometimes days are chaotic, so your writing is going to be chaotic as well. But that in the midst of all that chaos, it's where you find tranquility.
Right.
In regards to the 5 senses journey, I would tell them to maybe make like a list first instead of writing. Of at the moment what I'm smelling, what I'm tasting, what I'm touching, and then just go on and write for each one something that it's making you feel, it's making you think, or past experiences even. Like what I do now is, because I changed my environment, I sometimes journal about what is that actually makes me nostalgic about my ex environment. And that's when I realized that unfortunately, the negatives were much more than the pros in the ex environment, and that I focused too much on the pros as if it was the other way around.
Right.
So with my environment now is where I did the same, the pros and cons, and I realized there's so many pros. So every time I put myself like in the mentality of trying to think positive about my last environment and becoming sad about it, I go back to my journal and I read the negative stuff and I'm like, okay, no, I have to change this mentality, and I go back to it. Right. So that's helped me a lot.
And I think the crucial part here is also for the 5 senses is that you don't, however you do it, especially if you do it for yourself, you don't need to have any pressure or, the feeling of, I have to capture 5 senses right now. It's more like the 5 senses give you guidance. Not in every situation, every sense is the same intensity or brings up the same childhood memories. So be more situational on what you said earlier. Don't think, rather experience and just capture however you want to capture it, what you experience and how you experience.
Exactly. Like, don't be so hard on yourself, because that's definitely something I had to learn. I will criticize myself more than anyone else will criticize myself. And when I went through like a lot of drama this year and I realized that a lot of people were criticizing me without even like asking me what was wrong or if like I was okay, that's when it was the worst mental situation I've been in, because criticizing myself and in addition, having other people criticizing you was just totally distracting. Totally. And that's when I started saying, I don't have to be so hard on myself. Yes, like everyone, like we all have errors, but you can't just sentence someone from like one error. So if I don't forgive myself, no one else will. And I don't need anyone else's forgiveness to forgive myself. And that's when the 5 senses journey started to kick in for me, because I realized so much stuff about myself. And I said, these are my 5 senses. No one can have like what I have in the moment.
Exactly.
And I think that's something like super, like once you realize it, I think you realize your worth as well.
And how situational it is that you can't just generalize from a judgment. You can't generalize from one experience. It always depends. It's an ongoing journey, development, and it all comes from your insight, from your pureness, sort of.
Exactly. And it's something we have to accept, because if we don't accept it, then we're just going to keep going in circles and circles.
Absolutely. Claudia, thank you so much. Honestly, I'm truly inspired. Like, I had no idea when I reached out to you that this would go so much into the most perfect and fitting inspiration and direction of this podcast. This is literally, you captured everything this podcast is about, from how journaling and how focusing on the 5 senses can actually make you get over a heartbreak and become really strong, really powerful. The way you talk, it seems like you really got to the self-love, to this inspiration, to this mental state where you feel like, well, yeah, there's ways. I know how to, lift up myself and whatsoever. I'm truly inspired. Like, you gave me all the energy right now to keep this going and to believe further in this idea.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's been absolutely great. And there's one quote you had on your Instagram feed, which I truly loved as well. And I guess this is the perfect summary of everything you said. And this one is, try to not say something negative for 24 hours. And you will see how your life changes for the better.
Yep.
Wow. Like, honestly, I guess if this is the call to action for everyone listening right now, stay positive, focus on that one, focus on how you experience.
Focus on yourself.
Focus on yourself. Take this time right now to get your personal strength, your personal power, to love yourself, and to really get this bit of a testing based on what you said and how you gave the bit of guidance. Test the journaling for yourself. Test how the 5 senses, how I interact with my environment. Like, now is the time right now, and stay positive and see how positive your life gets if you don't see the negative in it.
Exactly. Just stay positive, because if we're stuck right now, everyone's life just paused. We have to remain positive, even when you don't want to smile, even when you hate writing and you don't want to express your feeling writing. I promise you that once you start writing it's like a photo. Like, you capture the photo and then you can look back at it and remember how happy or sad you were.
Right.
Writing is exactly like that for me. You go back and I'm like, oh, I was really thinking like this like 1 year ago, and now look at me. I'm so much more like smiling to life and positive. So
I love this, because you can go through the emotions again, right? Like reading something or however you do it, like seeing something again, how you journeyed it and how you experience it. Absolutely, like at least for me, I can revive it and I can put myself back into the situation. I know exactly how I experience it. But stepping back, I can see the development and I can see the progress and the, be proud of myself and how my mental state sort of changed out of it.
Yeah, definitely. So that's my advice to everyone. Just write and don't be negative, be positive.
I love this. Claudia, thank you so much. That's been truly inspiring.
Thank you. It was so nice meeting you.
Thank you.
It's like literally talking to a friend. And like with all the podcasts, I really enjoy every single subject that's been touched in this podcast. And I feel like it's really important for people to listen and to actually work on it themselves.
Thank you so much.
When you told me about it at first, because I used to escape every single opportunity I had about mental health on my blog, because it's something so personal that it scares me. Like it just
there's nothing more open than that one, right?
Exactly. So when then you told me it's about the 5 senses and because of your blog and this and that, and I went to a profile of the podcast, and I was like, this is actually something I'm like truly passionate about. Like if now that I'm saying all this about self-love and I don't just go for it and take the chances, I'm never gonna get out of my little box of like heartbreak. So I was like, I'm just gonna go out for it. And now that like I hear everything like about your podcast and all the conversation and these, like it definitely helped me a lot.
Oh my God,
you have no idea.
I'm so glad to hear that one, because in the end that's all I want, right? Like I want to have this podcast to share stories, but like to give inspiration for others, because opening up and becoming aware of your 5 senses, becoming aware of yourself is so hard.
I feel like I just literally like opened up to a new friend.
Wow, what an inspiring person, am I right? I hope I didn't promise too much in the intro. Claudia is a true example of how journaling and experiencing the 5 senses can improve your mental well-being and you as a person. As she recently experienced the heartbreak, Claudia realized that no one can force you to feel better or to experience this pain differently. Instead, your self-love and self-forgiveness guide your way. Journaling became a really important part of her life. So, as we said in the podcast, follow her advice. Try to not say something negative for 24 hours, and you will see how your life changes for the better. Start step by step. Open up your awareness for your senses and enjoy the journey. I checked Claudia's account in the show notes so you can follow along and find more inspiration and touching quotes. It would mean a lot to us if you subscribe to our podcast on either Spotify, Apple, Google, SoundCloud, we're on Buzzsprout, or any other preferred medium that you're listening on right now. Follow 5 Senses Journey on social media and tell us which topics you would like to have covered. We cannot wait to hear about your journey. Please do yourself and everyone a favor by staying home. Stay healthy and stay safe during this crazy and uncertain time. Until next week, take care. Have a great day.